Hey, what's up everyone? Got my next video to share with you guys. I just wanted to ask if you guys are enjoying the channel and enjoying what I'm putting out there, please just make sure that you subscribe. It just lets me know, and comment too, like give me some feedback. Speak to me, let me know like if there's something that you need further understanding on or maybe something you disagree with, like let me know. Awesome. Okay, so today I'm going to be speaking about the balance point. What I mean about the balance point is if you look at the fragmented unity image, in the center you will see between fragmentation and unity there is a meeting point between those two vectors. And that's exactly what the balance point is. It's understanding the nature of dualism, but at the same time, in understanding that, riding or standing on both sides of the coin, if you want to say that. So I'm going to show you on the screen like where I'm talking about on my logo. So basically, the balance point explains or is a metaphor for how we exist in a constantly moving dynamic equilibrium between two polar opposites. The polar opposites being fragmentation, separation, the feeling of separate identity, and the opposite to that, unity, the feeling of connectedness. And that's again what the balance point is understanding, okay, I'm not just one of these or another, I'm both, and like how to acknowledge that you're both and at the same time move forward in a way that is positive in your life. So you can think of it as a metaphor of the light and dark. So again, if you see unity as the light and separation as the dark, it's a pretty good metaphor that was carried through the Star Wars movie group. We can understand that being the dynamic equilibrium is being in the shade. It's not being in the light nor the dark, it's being in both at the same time. And I think that's where we're most comfortable. If we think about Goldilocks, that's a great example of a story that tells about this equilibrium point, this balance between these polar opposites. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. I'm sure you guys can tell I've been speaking and telling stories to my 3-year-old. But when it's represented in all of these texts that we're so familiar with, it is quite humorous. I find it pretty funny when such a deeply embedded truth is so easily portrayed, like in Goldilocks. Maybe that wasn't the author's intention, but the fact that it sets itself up for the metaphor is really synchronistic. One of the understandings for me that has helped me be able to bridge the gap between these two forces within myself, or at least understand that there needs to be a bridge between them, is chaos theory. I'm going to just read a quote from a book that I've just finished reading, that deals specifically with chaos theory. I'll link the book in the description in case anyone wants to take a look. Chaos theory. Within the apparent randomness of chaotic systems, there are underlying patterns, interconnectedness, constant feedback loops, repetition, self-similarity, fractals, and self-organization. So chaos theory basically speaks of how systems go from being chaotic to being ordered based on a magnitude of scale or perception. And it might seem a little bit unrelated to what we've been speaking about, but it gives a very good perspective on how to see this balance point between darkness and light within ourselves. And this chaos theory can be experienced in so many places in life. If you think of a music concert, that is a great example of chaos theory. What I mean by that is there's a unifying force that is music that everyone is enjoying together, but everyone's having a bit of a separate interpretation of that. So we have these emerging forces of chaos that come through, and not of chaos, of structure in these chaotic systems. So if you've watched a dance floor from an elevated point, there are times where people's movement seems a bit coordinated. Another thing I want to explain quickly just with my logo is that it forms the part of a ever fractalizing continuation. But it is the best understanding I have of a metaphor for duality. Not the best understanding, but a good understanding. Understanding that works for me. You could expand this outward into multiple iterations, because that's what happens with separation and fragmentation. There's not just two people or two cells, but that is the starting point of fragmentation and of separation. So you can think of it like a tree in a way. A tree starts with a single trunk. Obviously, we've all seen trees and they're in the ground and they're not a whole bunch of different points. It's normally one big trunk poking out the ground. That you can think of as unity. The first branch off from that tree, the first separation, you can think of the first fragmentation, the first time that the tree makes a split or branch. And that kind of continues throughout the tree until you get to the leaves. You know, the bigger branches split down into smaller branches, split down into leaves, and eventually you'll see a similarity between mathematical fractals that are developed and trees and tree canopies. And I think it's a really good comparison to make, just to understand what the symbology is that I'm trying to get behind. It's not necessarily anything that has any meaning in any other direction, but it is a culmination of different understandings that I've picked up. So the balance point, it is this ever-changing fluctuation point. It's never the same for any two people. So I think that's what gives us our uniqueness, or one of the things that gives us our uniqueness is that this balance point is constantly fluctuating and constantly changing, constantly moving at a different rate for different people, back and forth and sideways between unity and fragmentation. And that's why, like, I do feel sometimes we have days that feel very much different than other days, whether it's because we are swaying towards unity and we had the most amazing experience and we like just connected with people at work and we had an awesome time with our family, or separation where we didn't have a good time with our family, our work colleagues, maybe other forms of relationships. Maybe there was a tragedy that happened that set off bad emotions. Fragmentation can be difficult. So I think just trying to understand that it's not like right or wrong. That's a big misconception. Like, I know I said like good or bad, light or dark, but I think we all know we're a little bit naughty. Like, we all know we like sometimes do bad things, like, and not obviously terrible things, but there's sometimes where we make moral choices that are incorrect, to varying degrees, obviously. But for me, it's a huge motivation to understand this balance point, to understand and accept within ourselves that we don't have to be these like exceptionally good people. Not even good people. We don't have to be like thinking about unity and spirituality and the ideas of unity all the time. We need to accept that we are both sides of the coin, and in that acceptance, like, forgive ourselves for any things that we think are wrong and accept ourselves moving forward. And it's been really awesome for me to be able to move forward in my life and to understand the things I've gone through, to see those things through the perspective of like an ever-changing dynamic balance point between separation and unity. And to be honest with you, like, this understanding has really helped me. It's really, really helped me, and I wanted to help other people, and that's the motivation behind this channel. I want this understanding that has given me an ability to move a little bit easier through my life. I want to give that. I want to share that. Like, I want the world to have that, and I'm going to continue doing it. So yeah, I think the last thing I'm going to say for this video is sorry that I took a 2-week break. There was just a lot going on that I couldn't really make a video for. But I am going to try and do another video this week to make up for the 2-week break. And I've already kind of planned it. It's going to be on quantum physics. So I'm really excited about that one, as I was about this one. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is an example, and that is what I spoke about earlier, Star Wars. What I love most about the movies, and I'm sorry if this is someone who hasn't watched all the movies, but to me the most beautiful part is where the balance is restored, where instead of being dark or light, Anakin essentially is able to redeem himself and be both and become the balancing force. And that's the whole premise of the movie, is that like there is no good and evil. They're only like, we are this equilibrium between the two. We don't have to get stuck in like bad or good. We can actually be both, and that's what the force need to be balanced with, is the understanding that it's not just good and bad, it's not just day and night, that there is shade, there is a moment of intermingling between these two that we need to identify with as ourselves. Like, we are not just one or the other, we are all. And it's really exciting and fulfilling and freeing when you can see, sometimes I feel very fragmented, sometimes I feel like disconnected from everyone and not myself, and not wanting to do things, and demotivated and depressed and not feeling like the best me that I can. And there's other times where I feel super motivated and super connected and super into whatever I'm doing, and it just allows me to transition between those days a lot easier. So I hope that can help you guys. So please don't forget, subscribe to my videos if you want to get more of this information, if it's helping you. That way I don't have to keep reminding people to check the videos out. It can just pop up on your computer or phone. So until the quantum physics video, I'll see you guys later. Bye.